Welcome to the School of Wisdom, a weekly podcast produced for the Bible Bistro, studying the book of Proverbs chapter by chapter. My son, hear the instruction of your father. Forsake not the law of your mother, for they shall be an ornament of grace to your head, and chains about your neck. Now, this week's lesson. Hey there, friends, and welcome back to the School of Wisdom podcast here in the Bible Bistro. The Bible Bistro is kind of filling up, We've got this one, the School of Wisdom podcast, which uploads every Thursday. And then we have Creek Road Baptist Pulpit, which uploads every Wednesday. And then, of course, there's our flagship podcast, Daily Dose Radio, which comes at you every day, Monday through Friday, studying the Psalms verse by verse. I hope you'll take the time to go out to my-dailydose.com. That's our website, and you will find there in the blog outlines for all of these chapters. Today it's chapter 8, the book of Proverbs, and you'll find an outline there for chapter 8. If you just click on the blog entry that says outline for whatever chapter it is you're looking for, you click on that and you go to the blog page itself, and you look at that entry, that article, there will be a place in that article where you can click. There'll be a link, and you click on that link, and it will take you to a media page that has a PDF of this week's outline. And that's true for every week. So just go there, click on that link, you'll get the PDF. You can use it online as is, or you can download it. And, you don't have to listen to the podcast to do that. You can just do that if you want the outlines. Just go out there and grab them. That way you can have something for yourself to study at home, or I hope you'll study with me as we go through these chapter by chapter. Today, chapter 8. And just as chapter 7 was all about the strange woman, so today, chapter 8 is all about Lady Wisdom. So we studied intently last week. The entire chapter seems like it was about the strange woman. This week, the entire chapter is about the Lady of Wisdom, and she becomes our guest speaker here. We have a guest speaker in the School of Wisdom. Our teacher introduces her in the first 3 verses, and then we have Lady Wisdom speaking to us beginning in verse 4. And she continues to speak throughout the entire chapter until we come all the way down to verse 36. And I said she's a guest speaker. It's more like she is the founder emeritus of the School of Wisdom, because this is wisdom itself speaking to us. So we've been learning about wisdom, and our teacher, every week we've had 1 or 2 or 3 My Son lessons in the School of Wisdom, and so our teacher has been telling us, hear me, listen to me, keep my commandments, do my laws, and if you do those things, there are certain benefits that you're going to reap because of that. Today, we have the founder emeritus of the School of Wisdom coming into the school, and she's going to actually speak to us. And so let's just read the first 3 verses, and you'll see here we have the introduction to our guest speaker. Doth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? She standeth in the top of the high places, by the way in the places of the paths. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors. Now you say to me, Pastor Dave, that sounds very familiar. Well, it's because it is. And if you go back to chapter 1, you'll hear a similar kind of thing in chapter 1, because you remember in chapter 1, we had the 10 conditions. Let me get my 10 conditions card out here. There we go. We had the 10 conditions, and then we had the 2 ways. The one way was the way of wickedness, you remember? And the wicked man said, hey, why don't you come on over here, cast in your lot with us. But then we had wisdom crying, and so that was the second way. And so these 2 are the major thoroughfares in the book of Proverbs. It's either the way of the wicked or the way of wisdom. And wisdom cries out there in verse 20 of chapter 1. She utters her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief places of the concourse, in the opening of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying. So you see, very much like what we have here in these first 3 verses. The high places, the paths, the gates, the entry of the city, coming in at the doors. She is right there, and she's crying out. So she's at the intersections where everybody's coming and going, right? If she wanted to be someplace where she could cry out aloud and affect the majority of people, she might find a corner of the busiest intersection in the city and get up real high there so her voice could be heard by everybody and cry out. That's the idea here. And so our teacher says, doesn't wisdom cry? And understanding put forth her voice? Yep, because we saw her doing that back there in chapter 1. She is in the place where she can cry out to the majority of the people in the city. And then we have her speaking, beginning in verse 4. So wisdom cries out, and then she's going to say to us, here's what I'm going to say. She's going to tell us about it. So very first thing is, she tells us who her message is for, there in verses 4 and 5. Then we have her invitation in verses 6 through 9. We have a better than section, so her wisdom is better than certain things. We have wisdom to lead is in 14 through 17, and then we go to the human treasure that comes from having wisdom, there in 18 and 19, and then, actually 18 through 21, and then we have her origin story in 22 through 31, and then when we get to verse 32, we have the only my son lesson here in this chapter, and this is taught not by our teacher, but it's taught by Lady Wisdom. So she speaks verses 32 through 36, the only my son lesson in the entire chapter. All right. So we've had the introduction. We know who she is. She comes in now. She stands to speak, and she says, Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of man. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. So her opening is, I'm going to call out, and here's my audience, the sons of man, the simple, the fools. So we start with a very broad brush here, don't we? The sons of man. Isn't that interesting that it's singular, the sons of man? I think what we're intended to think of here is not men in general, but we're taught here to think of Adam. This is the sons of the progenitor of the race. So all of us, so this call to listen to the voice of wisdom is for everyone. To the simple, understand wisdom. Well, that goes right back to our fourth condition of the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is to give subtlety to the simple. That's Proverbs 1:4 in our 10 conditions of Proverbs. And then it says, O ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Well, the 10th condition in Proverbs says that the fool despises wisdom and instruction, but wisdom wants to change that. She wants the fool to listen. She wants the simple to listen. She wants all the sons of Adam now to listen. And then she gives her invitation. And her invitation is not, come and let's do wickedly. No, she says, hear me. Listen, for I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. For the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. So notice here in her invitation, she says she's going to speak. She wants us to come and listen, and this is how she gets us to come and listen. She says, I'm going to speak of excellent things, right things, true things, and righteous things. So those four is how she's advertising her speech. She invites us to come and hear because she's going to speak excellent things, right things, truth, and righteousness. So this is quite an invitation here. And why wouldn't we want to hear that? She says also that there's not going to be any wickedness in her lips, and there's not going to be anything froward or perverse in her lips. So her mouth is going to speak righteousness. Now, she's not going to speak perverse things. We hear enough perverse, don't we? I think so. How about if we listen to some excellent things, some right things, some true things, some righteous things? Oh, friends, we need that. We need to heal our souls. We need good soul care, and good soul care starts by listening to the words of wisdom. So she invites us. And then we come to verse 10. And I've just labeled this. If you have the outline, you'll see it there. Just better than ... This is just wisdom's invitation to come and hear these excellent, right, true, and righteous things is better than something. Well, let's see what it is. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. All right, notice what she says that wisdom is better than. Silver, gold, and rubies. So if you have silver, gold, and rubies, wisdom is better than all of that. And then we have this little statement there in, verse 11. The second phrase in 11, it's better than all things that may be desired. So if it's not silver, gold, or rubies that you desire, well, it doesn't matter what you desire, because whatever it happens to be, wisdom is better than that. So she wants us to receive instruction, knowledge, wisdom. Nothing of all of these things is to be compared to instruction, knowledge, and wisdom. And not only do we have silver, gold, rubies, and anything that might be desired mentioned, but also down here at the very bottom, in the very last phrase there in 12, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. So if you're creating and you're making witty inventions, listen to wisdom, because her words, her instruction, her knowledge is much better than even the witty inventions that we could create. I know that satisfies us greatly when we create something that is useful and witty, but wisdom says her words are even better than that. Notice verse 13. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Remember condition number 9 in the 10 conditions? The fear of the Lord is one of those conditions. The book of Proverbs is going to teach us the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. That's Proverbs 1:7. That's the 9th condition. And here, the fear of the Lord is referenced again, and we've seen the fear of the Lord all the way through the book of Proverbs. But here we have it again, and now we're told by wisdom herself that the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. She says the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate. So wisdom speaking says, I want the fear of the Lord, therefore I hate evil. So not only is she going to teach us excellent, right, true, and righteous things, but she's going to teach us to hate evil. That's wonderful. And I think we need that. Pretty sure. Notice the next section, wisdom to lead. Not only is her invitation to come and listen to her predicated by all that we might receive and what it's better than, instruction, knowledge, wisdom is better than silver, gold, and rubies, but now we're told that for us to be real leaders and men and women of substance, we need to listen to wisdom because counsel is mine, she says. Verse 14, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, and princes decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Well, here you have it. Wisdom speaking to us tells us that she is going to give counsel, sound wisdom, understanding, and strength, so that kings can reign, princes can decree justice and rule, nobles can rule, and judges can do their job. If you're any of those people, then you need wisdom, because she says, I am understanding. I have strength. And then I want you to notice very particularly verse 17. I love them that love me. Now, she told us what she hates. She hates pride, arrogancy, the evil way, and the froward mouth, which takes us right back to chapter 5. Is it chapter 5 or chapter 4? I think it's chapter 5, where we had the 7 things the Lord hates. What's the very first thing? 6 things the Lord hates, the 7 are abomination unto him. And the very first thing is a prideful heart. So we have, these things here that she hates. And then in 17 she says, but here's what I love. I love them that love me, those that seek me early. So the student who's looking, who is trying to attain, who is attending to the words of the teacher, who is seeking after wisdom with all of his heart, who's looking for and studying these things, well, that person that loves her is going to be loved by her, and that person that loves her is going to be the person that's actually getting up early and seeking her. And then we have the human treasure. These are some results. If you're following after wisdom, if you're loving her so much that you're rising up early and seeking her, then notice verse 18, riches and honor are with me. I think this is a little tease, isn't it? She's already said that her wisdom, her knowledge, her instruction is better than silver, gold, and rubies. Now, riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness, of course. Why wouldn't righteousness be there? It's one of the things that she said we're going to have. We're going to hear her talk about. My fruit, she says, is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. So if you're getting up early and you're seeking for wisdom, you're waiting at her gates, you're listening to her, then she says there's fruit there. Just like the man that gets up early and goes out into the field. He works the field and eventually harvest comes, and he's able to reap the harvest of what he's sown. And so here, her fruit is better than gold, my revenue than choice silver. And what is that? Riches and honor, durable riches and righteousness. And then if you look at verse 20, she says, I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance. So here's some more of that result of following wisdom. She causes those who love her. Go back to verse 17. I love those that love me. I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. Oh yeah, so there's a definite result that happens, an accumulation of good things that happens to the man, the woman, the boy, the girl, who spends time seeking after wisdom and loving her. Then in verse 22, we get her origin story. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea its decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. So her origin story goes from 22 to 31. The Lord possessed me, she says, in the beginning of his way. And then you'll notice, and I have this highlighted in the outline, under origin story, we have before his works, before the mountains, before the hills. So all of this is before creation. The Lord had wisdom there with him before any of this took place. Verse 26 confirms all of that. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens. So everything from 27 through 29 makes us think of creation. We go back to Genesis chapter 1. We have the heavens, we have the earth, we have the deeps, we have the clouds, we have the fountains, we have the sea, we have the foundations of the earth, all of that. There in Genesis, God is laying all of that down. This is the very beginning, and guess who's there? Wisdom is there. She's durable. She's been around since the creation. Actually, she was there before creation. And what was she doing? Look at what she was doing there in 30. I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. So wisdom was right there, and she was rejoicing before the Lord. She was glorifying him, because remember, that is the prime thing. God's glory is the most important thing. His glory alone is what he seeks. And so in making the heavens and the earth, he was glorifying himself. In making wisdom, he glorified himself. In making the dust of the world, he glorified himself. In making the sea, he glorified himself. In making the foundations of the deep and of the earth, he glorified himself. And so all the time, while he's doing this work, what's wisdom doing? She's delighting before him. She's rejoicing before him. And not only before him, but rejoicing in all that he made, rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. So a little history here about wisdom and all that she's been, and all that she's seen. So if you weren't convinced when she, gave her invitation there, maybe now you are, because she's been around, she's seen it all. She might know a thing or two. And then we have the only my son lesson here in chapter 8, and that's 32 through 36. Let me just read those for you. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. Again, you'll notice the hate-love scenario. Here in the end, we have the comparison. Remember, we've had comparisons before. You go back and look at the blog roll. You'll see I wrote a little piece on the early chapters about the comparisons between the wicked and the righteous. Here's another one. I should add that to that particular article. Whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. So the one who's seeking her, not only does that person find favor, but they also find life. Again, the person that sins against her, they hate her and love death. So on one hand, you have life. Wisdom grants it. Wisdom causes it to flourish. The other hand, you have death. Rejecting wisdom and refusing wisdom brings that about. All righty. Well, I hope this has been good. I hope this has been helpful for your soul. If you have time, I really would appreciate it if you would go to YouTube and become a subscriber to the channel. Listen to Daily Dose Radio during the week, and on Wednesdays, check out the Creek Road Baptist Pulpit. I'll see you again next week in the School of Wisdom. Hey, thanks for listening to the School of Wisdom podcast. If you're listening to this over YouTube, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time one of these podcasts is uploaded. I really appreciate all my followers, and I try to respond to each and every one of your questions. Come again next week, and we'll enjoy another lesson in the School of Wisdom.